So we are going to start the session.
Okay.
I'll introduce. After that, you can start.
Yeah, sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Ranjini, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Dayananda Sagar University, Bangalore. I welcome you all to the second day afternoon session of Online International Faculty Development Program on Research Perspectives in Futuristic Computing Technologies, organized by Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Dayananda Sagar University. Today we have Mr. Preetham Kumar Panda, Junior Research Scientist, Uppsala University, Sweden, who will be presenting data science. Now, I would like to introduce today's presenter. Mr. Preetham Kumar Panda is pursuing his PhD in the Department of Physics and Astronomy, Uppsala University, Sweden, under the supervision of Professor Rajiv Ahuja and Professor Yogendra Kumar Mishra from Max Clausen Institute, Nanosid, University of Southern Denmark. He has worked as Junior Research Fellow in the Infection Biology Lab, KIT University, India, and later joined as a graduate scientist in the Division of Pediatric Hematology and Oncology, University of Freiburg, Germany. His expertise includes bioinformatics, computational biology, biophysics, 2D material modeling of electron transport in nanoscale devices, and computational modeling of bionanoparticles. As a proactive researcher, the main goal of his research is to understand how scientific processes are responsible for producing the interactions and measurements observed in the experiments and projects he works on. He has published and presented research articles in various reputed journals and in international conferences. He was a gold medalist during his Master of Science in the year 2014, also during his Master in Technology in the year 2016. His ongoing research topics includes organic battery, electronic transport, biophysics, nanotransport, etc. He has recently published a research article in American Association for the Advancement of Science journal on the topic virtually screening antiviral compounds against coronavirus structure which may speed up drug and vaccine. He's hosting an educational channel on YouTube named Mr. Panda. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Rajni. And thank you for the introduction. And I think now I'm going to start with my presentation. I think all of the members are here, right?
Yes, sir. They are live streaming on YouTube, so they are watching the.
Okay, thanks. So basically, as Professor Rajani introduced me as a bioinformatician or a computational biologist, I basically work on many different aspects of biomedical and health data science applications, including the bioinformatics, computational biology. I'm also involved in nanoscience and nanotechnology also, and mostly doing research in biophysical aspects. So the today's session that I'm going to talk about is regarding the data science applications in biomedical and healthcare, and what are the possibilities of the big data, as most people say about the the data science. The data we collect is nothing but the big data. So how can we manage that, and how can we visualize those data in a perspective manner that a layman can understand the aspects of all the big data. So let's start with my first slide. I will start with a quote from a I will start with a famous quote from a famous statistician from America. Without the data, you are just another person with an opinion. So even if you collect the data from various resources and from your research data, without any presentation to the public, and without let them know about the data of your presentation and the visualization aspects, the data is nothing. So when you collect the data from different sources, you have to present it in a particular fashion so that a layman can understand those data. And all the big data, all the fuss about this big data and the data science, data collection, machine learning is nothing but all statistics. It's easy to lie with the statistics. It's hard to tell the truth without the statistics. So statistics is nothing but all these aspects that in the previous session also from the Canada, the scientist, he has been telling about the big data, how the data has been collected and how can you manipulate the data with the different programming languages and many different aspects he was telling about. But the most important factor is the statistics. So how can you present the data in a perfect like a graphical representation or a visualization so that people can understand those data. So let me start with a definition of this big data. As you see in the picture, if you are doing a research, if you are doing an astronomy research, you are looking through a microscope to the sky. But if the layman comes and tells you that what are you looking at and what are your data, how can you represent the data to him? Where is the data? Even for a clinician or for a biomedical researcher, the same thing. You look into the microscope, there is a slide, you see that slide and just represent the data with your mind, and then you put it in the paper so that people can understand. So big data and data science are like the internet. If I ask you to define them, you would all say something different, yet use them every day. So the main aspect here is the data that you collect, that you represent. So, we call it as a grand unification of science. So from different aspects, like suppose per se, you take example from the physics department, you collect so many magnetic data, or maybe you collect the astronomical data. And from a biomedical perspective, you collect the microscopic data, like a live pathogen or maybe some microorganism data. Per se, the recent example is COVID-19. So you take the data out of it and you say that, okay, the data has been collected, the patients have been infected with coronavirus, we take the blood sample and everything, you look it into the microscope, but a layman cannot understand anything by looking into the microscope. So you have to present the data in such a fashion that people can understand those data. So there is a fuss about all this big data and machine learning and data science and everything, but the main the ultimatum of what you can say as ultimatum is how to present the data. So today I'm going to talk about how to visualize your data science. I mean, there are many programs that you can process your data. You can fit your data in a particular algorithm by using Python, R. So many programs are there, but the main important aspect is the visualization. How do you visualize the data? So today I'm going to cover about the biomedical aspects of the visualization of the data that you collect. So what do I mean by the big data or big science? Is nothing but use of ever increasing amount of open, complex, and diverse digital data. So finding ways to ask and then answer relevant questions by combining such diverse data sets. So all the data sets, so suppose you are working in a team consisting of 5 members, and one is from biomedical, one is from physics, one is from chemistry background, one is from nanotechnology, but you all are working in the same aspect per se, COVID-19. So from a physics perspective point of view, you do some density functional theory calculations and many magnetic calculations and study the behavior of the virus. In biomedical aspect, you take the blood sample, you look into the microscope and study the interaction and how the virus is going to infect you. So you collect the data. From the chemistry background, you put different types of drug molecules and inhibitors to inhibit the virus. So all this data that you collect, you combine in such a diverse data sets, you collect them and represent them statistically. So that is the most important aspect. And another aspect is how to share your finding in a useful way with the regulations and the ethics. So research ethics is one of the most important aspect in the data science. So when you suppose you are collecting a data from a patient and you cannot reveal the name of the patient to the society, so that has to be ethically preserved, or we call it as a research ethics. And another aspect is the translating such findings into actions that improve the human condition. You have to present the data in such a fashion that the no human, they should not be offended by taking the data from those patients, and you cannot present them publicly with their name or such thing. So ethics is really, really important in the data science. So another aspect is there has been a fuss for about 20 years or maybe 30 years. The machine learning has been existing into the society. But why the fuss now? Why people are more focused into this machine learning aspect in every field? In nanotechnology you see, in physics you see, in biological science, everywhere there is a fuss about the machine learning. And now there has been a recent trend in material science aspect also. So I am basically working on 2D materials modeling and some of the physical aspects. But now the concept of machine learning has been into the material science, so that everybody is jumping into this machine learning. It has been there for 20 years, but nobody cares about that. But now everyone is caring about this machine learning aspect. So machine learning is nothing but, I can say that it's all statistics. You take different types of programs like Python, R, and C++, C, and a lot of many programs are there. But the most famous are the Python and the R, in which you do machine learning in biomedical and the healthcare aspects. So there has been many different branches of the machine learning. We call it as deep learning, neural networks, and so many bootstrapping, and so many aspects of machine learning are there. But all of it come together to represent the data statistically is what is the fuss about this machine learning. So promoting your future research, commercialization, advances in computing, all these aspects. So now this has been the major focus of all the industries and all the companies, and those who want to invest billions and billions of rupees into this machine learning aspect. So I would suggest everyone, whatever the field you are working about or working on, uh, it may be computer science, it may be physics, it may be biology. So everybody should learn R and Python and put your data in such a fashion that it should represent statistically to the public. And another example that I'm going to, because I'm not crazy, and hear me out in this aspect, Airbnb is like, there is one platform called Oyo platform or Airbnb, which can rent, houses to the tourists, to the people. And most of the money has been invested in Airbnb. Around 60 million users searching 2 million listings in 192 countries. 500,000 stays per night. Evaluation is 25 billion US dollars. So what is the fuss about this Airbnb? It's just a simple app where you search, where you search for a housing and just put the data and collect the data out of that and just represent. It's like a Netflix. When you search something in the Netflix search button and you type a Telugu movie or a Hindi movie, so the next time you search, you get the same Hindi movies list and the this Telugu movie list and whatever you search. I mean, that algorithm is usually meant for that. So millions and billions of rupees have been invested in such kind of apps, which are very simple, and it can take a maximum of 10 days to prepare a website and just represent your data. So this is all statistics. This is all machine learning. You can say deep learning, or whatever you say, and that is represented in your perfect future. So what is this data science operation with this platform environment? There are 5 pillars in which your data has been organized and can be accepted by the society. So one is the data acquisition. Another one is the data integration and engineering, data analytics, where you employ your machine learning algorithms. And the fourth one is the visualization. and dissemination of the data to the public so that no public should be offended by your data. Research ethics should be protected. So out of all this, the fifth one is the most important one, and you have to be very careful in releasing your data to the public so that public shouldn't be offended. So out of these 5 pillars, I'm going to I'm going to talk about all these 3 aspects of data acquisition, data integration, and data analytics as well. But also I will more focus into the visualization aspects. How in the biomedical, you are presenting your data uh, with the visualization tools, with the softwares that we use. So one of the aspect is application of the data science in the healthcare. So medicine and healthcare has been, is a revolutionary and promising industry for implementing the data science solutions. You take the example of the coronavirus situation. Everything becomes digital with this pandemic coronavirus situation. And US and all other countries like Europe and US, they are investing billions and billions of rupees towards this healthcare. They are not investing to the astronomical techniques or something. So many people are now shifted their gear towards this medicine industry, healthcare. We have to protect the people so that everybody can work. Computer science guys, they have been working to provide solution for the IT and different solutions to the public. But one of the major important aspect of this data science is in healthcare, or you can say biomedical healthcare. So data analytics is used in almost all aspects, from computerizing medical records to drug discovery, genetic disease exploration, and everything. So previously, when you go back to 30 years, you might have seen that when you visit a hospital or medical, there previously they used to write your name, and your data has been collected in pen and papers, but now everything is digital. So why? Because data science, because of this data science, because of this fuss about this machine learning and everything. So you collect the data, you present at the end of the year, you present it statistical, that how many patients have come here and what are the diseases they have been affected with, and all those data they collect and they present it statistically. So data science is a bigger and much more impact. It does much more impact in the healthcare sector, and we the data scientists or machine learning experts are ready to collect the data and ready to work on this aspect of health science. And another aspect is the monitoring data. As I told you, that many people will come to hospitals and in medicals and everything, and you have to collect the data from them, and you have to monitor them. Once the patient come into the hospital and they record their data, you have to monitor the data within the such a period of time until and unless he's become healthy. So like in this coronavirus situation, there is a fuss about this 14-day quarantine time. So when a coronavirus patient has been registered, they have to monitor them for the 14 days time period, the quarantine period. So this is all about the monitoring data, how in different aspect of disease, respiratory disease, cardiovascular diseases, and every such aspects of data. So monitoring data is really, really important in this. And we data scientists and machine learning experts should know how to collect the data and monitor the data. So, similarly, another aspect is the precision medicine. Now there is a fuss about this precision medicine all over the world, like the machine learning. It has been there since from 30 years, but nobody wants to talk about that. But now everybody is talking about machine learning. Similarly, in healthcare aspect, this precision medicine comes into act. Many people, similar to the way of scientists, collect and analyze the data in order to find symptoms and identify diseases, doctors can track the clinical course of the patients with a confirmed diagnosis. Physicians now have enough information at hand to identify consistent patterns in symptoms and create accurate patient profiles. So all these skills, all these data science skills is required for the health sciences, for the healthcare industry and biomedical industry, and you are the perfect candidate to analyze those data. So, any questions until now? Hello.
Sir, at the end of the session, we shall bring the questions from the participants.
Oh, okay. So, okay. So
You can carry on, sir.
yeah, sure. So, like I said regarding the precision medicine, so one of the important aspect of healthcare industry is next generation sequencing technologies. When you take a coronavirus patient or COVID-19 patient, so you collect the blood sample from them and you do the sequencing. The first ever paper that came into existence is this next generation sequence of coronavirus, this COVID-19 virus, which is called as SARS-CoV-2 or 2019 NCOV. So the main aspect of all these samples, all these pathogens, all these virus collected through these biomedical aspects is nothing but next generation sequencing. And next generation sequencing is nothing but collection of the data, analyze the data, monitor the data. This is all based upon 4 letters, ATGC, and that's it. Your human body is composed of ATGC only. So this has been the most important aspect in biomedical healthcare sector. And the data set, this is a computational technique. This is nothing to do with the experiments and everything. Oh, of course, you have to collect the samples and then you process it. But after processing it, you cannot find a solution in a solution. You take a test tube and collect the blood. You cannot find any data over there. You have to make it to the human readable format. Like, we computational scientists are here to help them, the data scientists or machine learning experts, you can say. So what is this all about? So it requires high computing time, and you cannot do it in your PC with the 4 CPU cores, and you cannot do it in your laptop. So you need a big clusters or big supercomputing facilities to do such kind of analysis. And there are many other aspects in which you can do in your laptop as well. But this next generation techniques requires high clusters and high computing time, in which you have to collect billions and billions of data, and you have to analyze, you have to filter it out. So this is an example of a small pipeline in which healthcare industries, they do this next generation techniques, which we identify different types of mutations in the body. And with those mutations in the body, you can identify that, okay, this person has been infected with this disease. Maybe it may be cardiovascular, it may be respiratory disease, or it may be any you can say this patient is coronavirus positive. So you can say, by using all this data, the billions and billions of data that you collect from a human body, and then you tell that, okay, this person has been infected. So we are the data scientists, where we collect, analyze, trim the data, and then we manipulate the data. Not manipulation in the sense we are not doing any fuss, but we filter the data in such a manner that finally it has to be reported with medicinal practitioner, or you can a surgeon. So he has to report back to a patient that you have been infected. We cannot give billions of data to the medical surgeon, and he can say that, oh, I don't understand anything out of it. You have to present in a statistical fashion. You have to filter the data, and you have to maintain ethical aspects, as well as you have to present it visually to a medical doctor, so that he can understand, okay, he has been infected with this COVID-19. So we are the data scientists, where we can present to the public in such a fashionable manner. And another pipeline that this is mostly related to the biomedical aspects. yeah, that you collect the data from different databases, collect the data from the samples, from the patient samples, and then you analyze by different aspects of per se. There are many mutations are there, and this mutation leads to this disease, and these are all coding, like medical coding technology or a computational bioinformatics coding. So this is all about the next generation sequencing, and at last you can report that, okay, this patient is negative or this patient is positive COVID-19 or maybe any other diseases, something like that. So genetics is another aspect of biomedical science, where you can say that the external stimuli, if you smoke a cigarette, and but the people, those who are smoking, and the people who are not smoking, there are many mutations in the body which can affect it. Like suppose per se COVID-19 patients, those who smoke, they have a high chance of getting infected with COVID-19, because the host cell receptor, what you can say, ACE2, you might have heard about that, ACE2, they are more abundant in the smokers rather than non-smokers. So all these genetic aspects we should also take care before presenting the data to the public or to a medical practitioner. And another aspect is the genetic aspects, and one more aspect is the phenotypic aspect. Phenotypic aspect is nothing but visualizing, or you can say the external characteristics of a human being. Suppose if you smoke, you have a higher chance of getting cancer. If you don't smoke, you don't have any higher chance of getting cancer. So those are the phenotypic alterations. But inside, whatever the happening inside in the body is all about genetic aspects. So you have to combine those things, and you have to report, or maybe filter the data or monitor the data in such a manner that all these aspects have been covered and you can report it correctly, because health science requires correct data. You cannot just uh, talk about, okay, this is this is something related to this disease, and this is really something related to this disease. So it is all about correctly uh, analyzing the data, monitoring the data, and then visualizing the data. So this is all about the healthcare aspects of data science. So also there is another aspect, the genetic aspect that I was talking about is nothing but this quantitative trait mapping. All the phenotypes that you observe in a human body, you have to uh, you know genetically present it with all the phenotypic characteristics, and then you can present the data. So there might be a chance of false discovery rate also in these aspects, and there might be some of the true positives also. So you have to analyze between the false discovery rate as well as the true positive rate. Okay. And the next aspect of the pillar is the data analytics. So there are different machine learning techniques like support vector machines, neural nets, deep learning, random forest, and many different algorithms. So you have to choose by yourself which data you want to present by which algorithm. So I will also show you one example of a healthcare data science or machine learning aspect of a data that we collect from analyzing bioinformatics aspects and biomedical aspects. I can show you what type of algorithm you should use and how do you classify those characters based upon different algorithms of machine learning. So the most important aspect that in the first slide I was telling about this visualization. How can you represent the data visually to the public so that a layman can understand the data? So this is all about the data sets. No matter how hard you work on, collecting the data, billions and billions of data, if you cannot present it to the public, and that's nothing else. I mean, there's no use of that. So you have to present this visually to all the, to the public with all the ethics and research ethics preserved. So this is the most important aspect, not only in healthcare, but also in every other if you take companies' data also, if you go to industry also, you have to follow the research ethics, and you have to present it visually to the public so that people can understand. So I'm going to tell you about all the visualization, like the 2D representation and the 3D representation, how we represent our biomedical data to the public. There are many different, softwares. There are many different, algorithms also. There is also much of mathematics involved in designing these softwares and how to represent this. And these are nothing but, mathematical coding, nothing else. So one example I want to show you. So this is one type of a protein. So that is inside your body. But when you collect the data from the patient, and you do next generation sequencing and all the machine learning data science aspect, you have to present it visually to the public so that people can understand. I mean, all the computer guys over here, they cannot understand this, but uh, I'm sure that all the biomedical people, those who have been involved in biomedical research, they can understand this kind of data. So this is a 2D representation of the mutations that happens in one of the patient, and all these mutations that you see, all these, the diagram. If you are a biomedical expert, you can understand that, okay, these are the mutational data, and you can say that, okay, this patient is cancer patient, and this patient is not a cancer patient. So these are the different techniques of visualizing the data. So this is a 2D representation. So if you go for a 3D representation, you can see, okay, now this is something more advanced from this 2D. So this is the replica of this 2D representation to a 3D representation. So this is a protein structure, and which causes the cancer. Is like a related to the blood cancer. So this is the protein which is responsible in all the blood cancer. So how the way you present your data to the public, that has to be understood by a layman as well. Of course, in terms of biomedical, not computer science, not IT people can understand this, but those who have been working in the biomedical aspect. There is another aspect of visualizing the data with 3D representation. I can show you one of the example. How do we simulate the data to represent how this the protein machinery or the DNA machinery in our body works? So this is a video in which we do multi-scale simulation, in which how we can observe that how these mutations occurs, how this protein translates, and so this requires high computing, and the data that we get from here is huge. So you have to analyze it perfectly and present them visually to to the public, or maybe in the form of a publication or something, so that people can understand. And another aspect is, suppose you were writing a paper, and in the paper there are many such data, related to nanotechnology, suppose a drug delivery and biomedical aspect. But how can you present an abstract in such a fashion that by seeing the abstract, people can understand, okay, these are the works they have done, and this is in the paper. So presenting visually, even in the publication, or maybe in a blog site, or maybe you present to a company, biomedical company, clinical company, you have to present abstractly, the abstract presentation, you can say. So this has to be one of the important aspect of data scientist or machine learning scientist, to present visually to the public how your data is presented and what is the abstract of the work, and what we have been doing in that publication. That has to be majorly focus on the abstract figure. So these kind of figures gives you an importance of data science, so that general public can understand that it. So recently we have worked in coronavirus, and we have published a paper in Science Advances by using I cannot say that machine learning, but also I can say that by using data science techniques. So it's all about the virtual screening, because when you want to develop it, when you want to develop a drug, it takes 15 years of research to develop one drug. The paracetamol, the malarial drugs, the combiflam, or the crocin that you are eating right now is nothing but it took 15 years of research to present that drug to the public. So it takes a lot of time experimentally to develop a drug, and billions of rupees has been invested in drug discovery techniques, or in the clinical informatics or clinical pharma companies. So recently, by using data science and the bioinformatics aspects, we have published one paper in Science with this SARS-CoV-2 ongoing pandemic, and we find out 38 different drugs which can inhibit the virus. So this has been a greater success for us by using the data science techniques. In this paper, you can find that only data science aspect or the bioinformatics aspects has been presented. No experimental data has been presented. So this technique has been used by many industries, many pharma companies, to quickly identify different types of drugs that can kill this virus. So this is a COVID-19 research we published recently. So the inhibitors, the 38 inhibitors that we found, by using virtual screening, or you can say that using data science. If you go to a pharma company, or if you go for experiments, it will take average of 5 years to find out a particular drug for that particular disease. Or if a vaccine, you might have known about the Ebola vaccine. And Ebola vaccine took 6 years of research to find out the vaccine for Ebola. And you are expecting within 1 year you can present coronavirus, and no, this is not possible at all. Within 6 months of time, you cannot possibly find a vaccine out of that. But also you can, the one good thing with the data science is you can narrow down to possible vaccine candidates or possible drugs which can inhibit this virus. You can come down with this drug discovery aspect. Of course, there are many aspects involved, like clinical trials, and the time you have to deliver it to the public, you have to test to the public. But vaccine development, the drug development, at least take 5 years to to find out a drug for a particular disease. So general therapeutics, or you can say general technique to find out a drug is depends upon this in silico, or you can say that this is the data science aspect, where you find out the drugs in different types of databases, then you do molecular docking, then you identify, generate, and you study a structure activity relationship and all these aspects, and you send it to the experimentalist, and then they send it back to you, then again you analyze. So this is all a cyclic process, and it takes a lot of time to find out a drug. So all these machine learning and artificial intelligence, you can say artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, all these aspects, they are really, really helpful in biomedical sector to find out drugs, to find out vaccines for a particular disease. So this is all a collaborative effort of the data science and the experimentalist and the public also. Public has also a major role in finding out drugs. We at the data science, we can present the data. Experimentalists, they do screening and then do experiments on those drugs, but the public is one who are going to be tested by these drugs, and it requires a lot of clinical trials and aspects. So the main basic criteria of discovery of a drug is nothing but the data science or machine learning or artificial intelligence. So simulation methods, how this goes on. This starts from a virtual screening. There are so many pharmacophore aspects. There are many, the video I have shown you is nothing but, this molecular simulations that you have to perform computationally, which is also happening inside your body. So you have to present them visually. by using computational technique, you can visualize those drugs and how this affects the virus and all these aspects. The filtration procedure, it takes a lot of time, and data science is really, really helpful in these aspects. So there are different types of models also. When you screen drugs and you test it against a virus or any particular disease or maybe a protein, then you have to, data, the millions of data has been generated. So you have to present them statistically. So in this aspects, machine learning, came into existence. So now here, the main important aspect is the machine learning. So you can present it statistically and you can say that, okay, these are the drugs which have a high validation score. You score it from 0 to 1, and you can present it to the clinical companies so that they can test on different types of drugs that you have found out. So this is the experts from the recent paper that we have published in the Science Advances with this coronavirus. We have used data science, we have used visual aspects of this virus so that clinicians can understand that, okay, how these drugs inhibit this virus and what are the virus structures and everything. All these aspects have been presented in the paper, and visually it has to be presented in such a fashion that you people can also understand, okay, what is the technique that they have used in the paper. So all these are the excerpts of from the Science Advances paper. And last thing I want to show you is one of the example that I prepared to visually present one data from all these mutations and everything. I can show you one circus plot. Can you see the plot? Professor Rajani, can you see this plot?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is, data science, or what do you call that? Collection of the data and present them visually to the, by using a circus plot. So this is, we call it as a dynamic circus plot, in which you can put all the genetic and the phenotypic aspects of, the data from next generation sequencing technique and from bioinformatics technique. So this is one of the script that I have prepared with the collaboration with Belgium, KU Leuven, and you see how you can present the data, such a nice representation that you people can also understand how this data has been presented. So when you go and click over here, you find the mutational aspects, the amino acid composition and everything, and also you can put some good animation effect so that you can see that, okay, how you can generate the different types of plottings, visual maps, and many other aspects you can put. So data science is something which is really, really important, and visualization is one of the aspects that you should focus on. Collecting the data, presenting in tables, and presenting in graphs is one of the aspect, but also you have to present it visually to the public so that they can understand the data. So this is one of the what do you call that, visually presentable data that has been prepared by me. And if you want, I can share the script also so that you can present with your data as well. And another aspect that I want to tell you about is a Python program. So we have a collection of data in which we do molecular simulation and collect the data out of it. And if you look into the table, you cannot find any information about that. These are all the numbers. So by using machine learning, or maybe by using machine learning algorithms, you can categorize those data, and you can say that, okay, how this has been classified by using different algorithms. So I have written a code in which I can, by using scikit-learn is one of the machine learning package in which different types of algorithms have been used, like logistic regression linear discriminant analysis, neighbor classifier, decision tree, Gaussian, and SVC, support vector machine. So all the data that you have seen in that Excel file, that is not presentable to any of you. How can you understand the data without any visualization aspect? So I have prepared this algorithm, and if you run this, so if you run this,
Sir?
Yeah.
The screen visual is freezed now. Can you just try to fix it? Yeah, it's freezed.
Okay, let me see. Can you see now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now it came.
Yeah. So one of the code that I have written in Python, and we have to classify the data that have been presented in the Excel file. So you take this and just by using Python code, you can just present the data, and you can classify the data based upon different algorithms of machine learning. And you can say that, okay, out of all these algorithms, which one is good, which one is bad, which algorithm suits to my data, and how can I classify the data accordingly. So this is all about this data science and machine learning aspects. And I can share this script to all of you, so that you can also try and test the data sets with your own example. So this is all biomedical data, but when you see the data is nothing but the mathematical numbers. So you have to classify it, you have to present it in such a manner that everybody should understand. So this is all about this is all about this machine learning and data science in healthcare aspects. And I hope you guys can cope up with me and understand whatever I told you. So please use such kind of analysis and present it visually to the public, so that even your colleagues, even your parents can understand, okay, you have done a good job. Just doing a scientific work or the data science aspect is not just only for you, but also you have to convince the public as well. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your time and knowledge on biomedical aspects of visualization of data.
Yeah.
Now I request the participants to type your question to the chat box on YouTube.
On the YouTube, it's going up, right?
Yes, sir. So please wait for 1 minute.
Okay.
Who are not at par with the AI. Okay. We are.
Can you send me the link? I can't see the YouTube. Yeah.
I'll share with you, sir.
Yeah.
So we have a question.
Mm-hmm.
In connection with IoT applications in healthcare, how biomedical data can be helped with this regard?
Okay, let me open it. Yes.
Can be helped with this regard.
Okay, let me open it. Yes. Can be helped with this regard. Okay, let me open it. Yeah, hello?
blink.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Oh, okay. Oh, so what's the question again?
In connection with IoT applications in healthcare, how biomedical data can help.
I don't understand. IoT?
Related applications are there in
Mhm.
healthcare nowadays. So, how the biomedical data can help in this regard?
Oh, okay. So, in connection to the data that you collect from different aspects, from the patient data, or maybe mm, all the, I mean, the biomedical data. When you say about the biomedical data, that mostly prevailed to the disease aspects or the patient aspects. So Internet of Things is a different aspect, and the biomedical aspect is different. What you can do is you can collect the data from the different databases. There have been a lot of databases in the public domain, where you collect the data of, suppose you take cancer patients or COVID-19 patients, then you collect the data out of that, and you present them by using your different types of machine learning and data science aspects, and you can present statistically to the public that, okay, these many people have been infected with the cancers, and these people are not. So one good thing will come into action is that, as per the region, as per different countries, you can present the data to the public, so that they should understand that in this region there are many more cancer patients, and in this region there are less number of cancer patients. So they have to be very careful about such aspects. So all these aspects of data science can be modeled into futuristic technologies, and you can present the data to the public, as well as different types of companies, through the government and everything. And you can say that, okay, these many populations have been infected, and they have been infected with the cancer in mostly in that region, rather than in comparison to all the different countries. So these are all the biomedical aspects.
Thank you, sir. We have another question. What are the ethics to be followed while creating healthcare applications?
Yeah, the most important ethics is, when you collect the data from a patient, you cannot reveal the name of the patient to the public. That has to be preserved secretly with you and whoever you are sharing the data with. So that aspect is really, really important. And if you are doing a collaborative research with different types of partners, you have to be carefully, if you are publishing a paper out of the data, you have to carefully you know divide the authors in such a fashion that the contribution, the higher contribution should go first, and the lower contribution should be accordingly be placed. And another aspect is, you don't have to reveal all the data, but in case of such pandemic situation like COVID-19 and everything, you have to reveal the data to all the people, but not the patient data, but the statistical data that you present, the number of deaths, the number of recovered patients, and the number of infected patients, that you know share them publicly, so that people should know that how many countries and how many regions have been affected. So all these research ethics that you have to maintain during a collaborative aspect with the industries, with the companies, with many other different the partners that you involved in. If you are going for a open access publication or something, research publication, then you have to divide accordingly the author contributions. And if you are presenting the data to the clinical company, you don't have to reveal the names of the patients, but your statistics should be right. You cannot manipulate the data uh, if you are analyzing the data from a public data sets, or you are collecting the data from different aspects. So these are all the research ethics that you have to you must take care of.
Okay, sir. So one participant needs to hear more from you to identify brain tumors
Mhm,
regarding data science,
mhm.
connecting with the data science, and how to identify the brain tumors.
Yeah, there are many artificial intelligence apps, also there are some Google Play apps and also available in iOS stores, where you take a picture of these MRI scans, magnetic resonance infrared scans from from the patient, and then you digitally use them or classify them to say that, okay, by using artificial techniques and artificial intelligence, you can say that, okay, this part of the brain has been infected, there has been a swelling, or there has been some phenotypic effects where you can see visually or characterize these visually, and you can present the data to the, so you can differentiate between a normal patient and the brain tumor patient by just visually seeing the data from from a clinical background.
Thank you so much for clarifying the doubt, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. Now I request the participants to fill the feedback form. A link has shared to the chat box.
Is there any other questions?
No more questions, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you all for joining us for today's session. Tomorrow's session details will be sent to your WhatsApp, Telegram groups. Kindly join for tomorrow's morning session. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ranjani?
Yes, ma'am. You can
Stop
stop.
streaming, ma.
How to stop? 1 second.